The Plague of David, when 70,000 died in 3 days. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Here we uncover the hidden stories of the Bible, stories that reveal the justice, mercy, and mystery of God like you've never heard before. 70,000 people died in just 3 days. It wasn't war, it wasn't famine, it wasn't a known illness, it was a silent judgment, invisible, unstoppable, sweeping across Israel like a shadow sent from heaven. Imagine waking up in Jerusalem to find your neighbor lifeless. No fever, no wound, no warning, just gone. By nightfall, hundreds more have disappeared. By the next sunrise, no city remains untouched. The streets that once echoed with laughter now carry the cries of mothers. Markets close. Priests shout prayers that no longer reach the heavens. The smell of death fills every corner. It all began with something ordinary. A census. A decision that seemed harmless. But behind it lay pride. A seed that would cost 70,000 lives. At that time, Israel was powerful and prosperous. David, the warrior king, had conquered his enemies and built a nation that stood firm and feared. The people believed themselves untouchable, but prosperity is dangerous when pride takes root. David's victories had made him confident, perhaps too confident. He wanted to count his army, to measure his strength. Joab, his general, warned him, "The people belong to God, not you. Why bring guilt upon Israel?" But David insisted. 9 months later, the numbers arrived, over 1 million fighting men. That night, David's heart broke. He realized his sin. He had trusted in numbers, not in the Lord who had delivered him from Goliath, from Saul, from every battle. But it was too late. The prophet Gad arrived with God's message, 3 choices of judgment, 3 years of famine, 3 months of war, or 3 days of plague. David trembled and said, "Let us fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercy is great." The next morning it began. Strong men collapsed mid-step. Children, elders, entire families. By noon, panic spread faster than wind. Riders came from every direction with the same message. Death is everywhere. From Beersheba to Dan, mourning filled the land. Priests burned incense day and night, but the plague did not stop. David tore his royal robes, covered himself in ashes, and fell before God. "I have sinned greatly," he cried, "but these people, what have they done?" On the second day, fear turned to despair. Families stopped burying their dead. Villages became silent. Cries of grief faded into eerie stillness. Some whispered of demons, others of an unseen angel of death. By the third day, hope vanished. The sun rose red, the air still. Survivors could smell the rot of tens of thousands. And then, David saw it. Above Jerusalem hovered an angel, visible, terrible, radiant, holding a sword stretched over the city. The earth trembled, even the wind seemed to stop. David fell to his knees. "I am the one who has sinned. Let your hand fall on me, not on your people." His cry echoed through the empty streets. The prophet Gad returned. "Build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite," he said. Without hesitation, David obeyed. Araunah offered the land for free, but David refused. "I will not offer to the Lord what costs me nothing." He bought it for 50 shekels of silver. There he built an altar, offered sacrifices, and prayed for mercy. As the smoke rose, the angel lowered his sword. The plague stopped. The silence returned, not of fear, but of relief. 70,000 were gone. Fathers, mothers, children, entire families wiped out. But Jerusalem was spared. The people fell in grief and gratitude. In the days that followed, burial began. No rituals, no songs. Just trenches filled with the dead. The stench of decay mixed with the scent of incense. Survivors walked like ghosts among the ruins, hearts broken yet faith reborn. David spent hours wandering the city streets. He looked at the empty homes, the closed shops, the broken gates. He felt the weight of 70,000 lives on his shoulders. Each number was a soul, each soul a story. He prayed, not just for forgiveness, but for understanding. Lord, why did I fail? How did my heart become so blind? The city seemed to answer only with silence. Imagine the mothers, the fathers, the children who survived, their eyes wide with horror, their hands trembling, streets empty, doors closed, silence everywhere except the echo of grief. Merchants walked through abandoned markets, touching crates and stalls that would never be used again. Priests knelt at burnt altars, incense smoke rising to a heaven that seemed distant, watching, waiting. For generations, parents told their children the story of the 3 days when death walked among them, and how one man's repentance saved a city. David's plague is not just about punishment. It is about the balance of justice and mercy. When heaven reminds humanity who truly holds control. The memory of the plague never left them. Every sacrifice at the temple reminded them that mercy has a price, and pride always demands payment. But the story also teaches hope. Even in the darkest hours, repentance can turn the tide. One heart, one act of humility can stop judgment. One prayer can save thousands. And maybe that's the message for us today. Pride still blinds us. We still count what was never ours. We still measure strength instead of faith. Yet even now, God's mercy is greater than His wrath. And when we humble ourselves, even the sword of judgment can be stopped. Because sometimes, all it takes is one act of repentance to turn death into grace. One act of humility can save a nation. One heart can stop a plague. Remember the story of David's plague. Remember that mercy has a price. Remember that even in darkness, faith can light the path. And if we carry this lesson, perhaps we too can avoid the shadows that pride casts and find the mercy waiting on the other side of humility.